lot of people, they're kind of questioning why exactly is this matchup happening. A lot of people are seeing it as the conventional striker versus grappler matchup. You've heard it a million times on all the different outlets, right?
Bobby Green, he says it best himself. You keep sleeping on him, he's gonna wake you up.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Grant Dawson, Bobby King Green. This is the lightweight division, and this is an opportunity to see a young, hungry contender beat a longtime veteran and really move himself up the ranks, folks. What's going on? My name is Derick G. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. UFC Vegas 80, that's what we're breaking down here today. Breaking it down with me, as always, is my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, the man with the comfortable gaming chair, bro. I need one of those. AJ, how you feeling, brother?
Derek, I'm feeling good, my brother. I might be, in a new chair over here feeling comfortable, but it feels good to be back in the seat here breaking things down with you. I didn't know what to do with myself this last week, man. I was having to make events for me and the loved ones. It was boring. I'm excited to be right back here breaking down UFC Vegas 80 with you, man. We got some bangers on the card. A lot of people might be sleeping on this one again, Derek, but I'm excited to tell them why they're not. This one's going to be a fun one. Are you as excited for this card as I am?
I am. And the reason is probably not the same reason that everybody else is, because they probably see this and they're like, Grant Dawson, Bobby Green, main card. Did y'all know the voice of the sleeper segment here on the Bloody Water Podcast, the king, Bobby Green? Listen, man, this is going to be very similar to, in my opinion, when he stepped in. Short notice, though, against Islam Makhachev. A lot of people wrote him off, but a lot of people said, hey, man, this guy can be real tricky. And I think that's kind of the light that we have to take this fight into account this week, this matchup, I guess I should say. But the card, it's loaded top to bottom. We got a lot of good stuff. There were some cancellations, but a lot of young, hungry talent, and I'm really excited to break it all down, folks. So I want to give you a friendly reminder. If you do not know already, folks, we're fighting for something. There's stakes to be had here. We don't just sit here, break down fights for no reason, even though we would do it anyways. That's what we did before the show existed. But the point is this. You see those gold belts behind me? I got 2 of them right there. I'm gunning for my 3rd. But that guy right over there, right? AJ, excuse me. That guy right there, he's gunning for that gold. And he's been in the lead all year long. So AJ, 104, 66, and 3 is the current scoreboard that you have. That is the leading scoreboard. My question to you is simply this, man. We're in the last couple of months of the competition. It's getting down to the wire. It's almost 50-50 right here. What is the thought process for those who are uninitiated, who don't know about the competition? What is your thought process when you're breaking down fights? How many risks are you willing to take at this stage of the competition?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I like the way you phrased it, Derek, because you're right. This is 0-0 basically in my mind. I might be up by 2, but if you've known anything from the past, folks, you know Derek has closed a much larger lead in a lot faster time. So getting risky, I don't know. Doesn't really sound too logical, at least over here on this end. I got to stay true to the past state of what's got me to this lead, but at the same time, I got to keep my foot on the gas pedal. And what's nice about it, folks, when we're over here, we're risking our ego. We're trying to get that gold that Derek's saying. Either way, you're still winning money regardless, because we're trying to get better and better each week. We're looking to hit that 70% goal on correct picks. And you know who's benefited most is you folks who are subscribed right there, getting the best in week and week out. Still going to be a fun one, Derek. I don't know, man. I'm thinking about keeping it how we have been, breaking things down, keeping it similar, but at the same time, you got to risk it to get the biscuit. Are you doing anything extra or out of the ordinary to try and get one up on me again for the 3rd year in a row?
Well, that's right. I'll tell you this much, brother. You got to throw a little bit of risk in there, calculated risk. In the grand scheme of things, man, if it was this easy, we would just look at the favorite fighters and we would bet that every single week, and we'd be millionaires, but that's not how life works. So calculated risk. At the end of the day, folks, we're giving you the best prop locks of the week that we can find. We're giving you our money line picks, and more important, we're breaking it all down. So if you have not subscribed after that very enticing, convincing spiel, I don't know what you're here for. You came to the wrong program. Subscribe or bounce, but I'd rather you subscribe and be part of the BWP army. 711 subscribers right now. That is a massive army. We're raiding small villages. All right, AJ, let's not mince any more words. We did a bunch of housekeeping. Let's jump straight into the picks, brother. So I'm going to flash it up on the screen, folks. You guys know how the drill goes. If you're uninitiated, I'm going to give you a solid 3 seconds to take your screenshots. If you don't want to join the rest and figure out the context, then go ahead and dip, run to the sportsbook, come back, thank us. But we're going to break all this down. So, AJ, here it is. This is the UFC Vegas 80 betting sheet. You might see a little slight difference in terms of the font. That bought you a couple extra seconds right there. But folks, 3, 2, and 1. AJ, a lot of Bloody Water podcast consensus picks. There's actually 4 of them this week. Those are the ones that we pride ourselves on. I'm going to break them down as follows. Grant Dawson. We like ourselves some Joe Pyfer. We like Drew Dober. And then ultimately, Bill Senior Perfecto. Algeo, man. I'm going to ask you, we always do it, what's the theme of these picks this week?
Consistency, Derek. That's my theme going into all of these ones. All the fighters that we have a consensus on consistently stay to who they are as a fighter and make the fight their own. They're comfortable in there. They show it. What about your theme going into this week?
Will breaking. I think that's a very easy theme that I have right here. I think that every fighter that we're choosing has somebody opposite from them who can break, and I think that our fighter that we're choosing will break them. I think that's how this night's gonna play out. But folks, that's not the most important part of the program. This actually is right here, these prop locks, folks. So you might see a little flash in the pan right here, a little something different. AJ, I'm throwing a little mixture here, man. So instead of going for a specific fighter and picking a very specific prop for them, I decided Hernandez, Algeo. I actually am gonna take a page out of your book, my friend, and go minus money here today. Minus 125 for the fight not to go the distance. This is gonna be a good fight. Obviously, I'm backing Algeo, but at the end of the day, I'm backing this fight not to go the distance more than I'm doing anything else. But AJ, you like Alex Morono. That's a contention pick, but you got it for the prop, so talk to the people.
Got it for the prop, Derek, because I believe that Joaquin Buckley is going to do the most he can to get this fight as long as possible. And I think the best shot for Morono is to break that will that you're talking about and really grind this out into a dirty, long-driven fight, make it a lot of fun. I got Morono by points as my prop lock.
All right, folks. Well, those are 2 prop locks that you got right there. If you want to hear all the context behind the picks, we're going to break it all down right now. But if you don't, take that screenshot. I hope you took it. If not, you might as well rewind, do something, head on to the sports book. But if you're not doing any of those, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show for a reason. And AJ and myself, we've been doing this thing. How long now, AJ? It's been 3 years or something like that, right? Something like that. We've been running it up for you guys.
Show, folks, we're doing this, like Derek said in the beginning, even just chopping it up. This is what we love, and I'm glad to bring it to you so that way you can benefit going forward, because we're doing it regardless. But it's nice to have that small army behind us. All of you are loved when you ever hit that subscribe button.
You heard the man. I ain't got nothing else to say. Let's break down some picks, folks. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right. We got a main event, AJ. Grant Dawson, Bobby King Green, excuse me. Put some respect on my man's name. This is the point, though. A lot of people, they're kind of questioning why exactly is this matchup happening. A lot of people are seeing it as the conventional striker versus grappler matchup. You've heard it a million times on all the different outlets, right? But I do think that this is going to be a really good test for Grant Dawson. You're coming off of a Damir Ismagulov win, and you're running into Bobby King Green. You might say, step down in opposition. But that's the thing, man. Bobby Green's seen it all, done it all, fought all of the good guys, done it on short notice, done it on full camps, and I think he's going to try to have something to prove against Grant Dawson, because this is, once again, another spot where Grant Dawson has to have a stunning, dominant performance. Anything less than that will be a disservice to him and not get him to those call-outs that he wants to make after the fight. AJ, trap game for Grant Dawson? What do you think?
Ooh, I think so, Derek. A little bit of trap game going on. Folks, there's a reason Bobby Green is the golden voice of our sleeper section, because he says it best himself. You keep sleeping on him, he's going to wake you up. And by waking you up, that means he's knocking people out left and right. He's even finishing El Kukui by submission. This guy has done it all, seen it all, and like Derek said, in a various amount of time and in a various amount of ways. There's nothing Bobby Green hasn't even seen. Man, this guy is going to be not necessarily a great fighter for years and years and years. Maybe people not going to remember his name, but if you're a true fan of the sport, a true fan of fighting, you know who King Green is. This guy shows up, and Grant Dawson has an absolute test on his hands. If there's any bit of Grant Dawson that's doubting Bobby Green in this fight, man, this is going to be a long one. This is going to be a molehill made into a mountain if there's any doubt going in there. What do you think, Derek? Is this going to be just classic Grant Dawson wrestling match like the media is making it to be, wrestler versus striker? I think Bobby Green might have some tricks up his sleeves, but we'll see. What do you think?
It's tough, man, because, yeah, absolutely. I do think that if Grant Dawson does what Grant Dawson does, he should definitely walk into a victory right here. A pretty straightforward one. The problem becomes, can he not get the fight to where he wants it, which is on the ground? And I think he'll be able to do it. But Bobby Green does have a bit of a wrestling background, but I have to pump the brakes a little bit. I love me some Bobby Green. A lot of people talk about how good of a grappler he is. I've seen him grapple, actually, like pure grappling, not MMA, like a grappling event. He went to a jiu-jitsu event. It was one of the Apex events that they had, one of the first ones that they did. And I'm just going to say I love me some Bobby Green, but he kind of got mauled when he went and did that, right? So in pure grappling against one of the highest level dudes to do a Grant Dawson, not his wheelhouse. That's not what we want to entertain. Of course, you're going to say it on the mic, but in the grand scheme of things, get out at distance, box him up, get him away from the hips. Don't let him come anywhere near your hips. So this is one of those real issues, man, because look at the Drew Dober fight, for an example. Look at the Jared Gordon fight, for an example. Bobby Green can be that dude who either has that really sharp shooter, I'm on your ass from the jump and it's looking real dangerous, then it all falls apart. But we saw also in the Jared Gordon fight, he can have that slow start and still work his way back into the fight. People question Grant Dawson's cardio. I don't think it's something they should question, but after a hard one round of just domination, backpack, you took his back, you controlled him, Bobby Green comes back up to the feet round 2. You think he could be one of those 3 minutes of nonstop jab in that face, slickster, hand style, putting it on him. What do you think?
I think so, Derick, especially if Bobby Green, maybe he shuts down 2 takedowns, 3 takedowns, something in there. But yeah, I think Grant Dawson's going to get this fight to the mat. But if Bobby Green can keep him working, keep that supposed lack of gas tank dropping and draining, then I think Bobby Green shows up in round 2 and really puts the work on. One of the big things I was thinking about for Bobby Green, how's he going to win this fight? The X's and O's, they're there. There's ways. You're throwing uppercuts. You're throwing front kicks. You're throwing things down the middle, knees, whatever the case is. But Bobby Green, if he's able to fight that ego of Grant Dawson, get him thinking in his head, get him working, get him tired mentally as well as physically, and then start mouthing off and throwing the 1s and 2s, Bobby Green can see some effect right here. I don't think Grant Dawson's necessarily the young fighter he once was where that's going to happen, especially in his last fights, man. We've seen him stay strictly to the plan. Grant Dawson's a good guy, but if Bobby Green fights that ego, I think this is going to be the best outcome for him. That being said, it's pretty damn hard.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, we can conjure up as many different scenarios as we want. Like you said, we love Bobby Green. We think he's a slickster on the feet. He has some underrated grappling, but in terms of this matchup here, Grant Dawson can strike. I think that's not where he wants to be. But the problem is, once he takes you down, he doesn't just sit there and try to do a bunch of fancy stuff. He controls you, and he does not allow you to move for the remainder of the round. The only thing that I can see problematic is that the judge is saying, yeah, you controlled him, but did you beat him up? Did you put any damage? And then we run into that argument all over again. I think if you control 4 of the 5 minutes, you win the round, personally. That's how I feel. But let's kind of talk about these odds, man. Opened as a minus 380 favorite, currently swole to a minus 440 favorite. A lot of love for Grant Dawson. Of any of these props here, the ones that I want to talk to you about the most are going to be the very simple 2 of them right there. Plus 130 for the submission. Grant Dawson wants to become the first man to submit Bobby King Green in his illustrious 45 fight career. Does he get it done, AJ, at plus 130 odds?
That's the one that I was looking at most, Derick, right there, because, yeah, plus 130 for Grant Dawson because he stays so active on the ground in the control. Like you said, he's not doing stuff fancy, but very technical. We talk about it all the time. Technical gets you the job done, the fastest, most efficient route. Submission looks good, but I don't know, man. Bobby Green, he hasn't done it, like you said, in 45 fights. I kind of like that decision at plus 230. I think this will be a controlling outing, for Grant Dawson. Do you think he gets that submission?
I don't think he gets the submission, but I like that plus 450 TKO, and I do not understand why that number is swollen so high. If this is anywhere near a repeat of the Makhachev versus Bobby Green fight, Makhachev didn't submit him. What did he do? You take him down, you control him, and you beat him up. All they have to do is shell up a little bit, when their head is facing the canvas, they're shelled up. The referee gets the immediate signal of, the fight's over. Let's stop this thing. And I think that's exactly what happened. So I'm going to call it here. Not my prop lock, but I do like plus 450 TKO for Grant Dawson. And if you look at it, I can understand why you wouldn't want to pick that. Look at the last 5 finishes of Grant Dawson. 4 or 5 of them are submissions. You know what I mean? So it's of course you'd want to go for it. But when you know it's the easier path to victory to knock him out than it is to submit him, then you take it. So I don't got anything else on this one. I think Grant Dawson by pretty much domination, more or less. But I'm looking for a valiant fight from Bobby Green. Anything else, AJ?
I like it, Derick. I like where your head's at. I'm still going with the decision plus 235. I got a little hope for Bobby Green in the back pocket. Let's see if he pulls it out.
All right, fair play. Be like Joe Pyfer. In the words of Dana White, be like Joe Pyfer. And if you're anything like that man, then you've somehow supplanted Abdul Razak Alhassan, and you're the A-side now, and you're a massive favorite. But when I look at this matchup, and I love me the prospect of Joe Pyfer, I love the power, I love the intangibles, I love what he brings to the octagon. I find it somewhat crazy that Abdul Razak Alhassan, a man with crazy knockout power, so many first-round knockouts, is being discounted so heavily. Are you concerned about that at all?
100%, Derek. When I was expecting to look at these odds, I thought Abdul Razak Alhassan was going to be the top favorite. He's going to be the guy, man. And sure enough, Dana White, I guess he has that Midas touch, or at least Midas voice, speaking Joe Pyfer into the favorite as a open minus 370. I don't know what the odds are swell to now, but I know that, man. A lot of people are backing Joe Pyfer, and this is going to be a very fun fight because he is that entertaining guy. He has that power. He has the pop. Now he just needs a little bit of mic time to get the boy going and rise into the stars. This is going to be a fun one, Derek. Do you see gold in Joe Pyfer's belt, or is he just going to be a fun time for a while he's here? What do you think?
I think it's way too early to even be talking about or discussing gold with Joe Pyfer. Let's not forget 185 pounds middleweight division. He's nowhere near the top 15 right now, but I will say he's got the prospects to really make a run. You knock out GM3, you got a big win against Alan Amadovsky. That's a good start. Let's see what he can do here against Alhassan. And I'll tell you this much, man. In the grand scheme of things, the thing that concerns me more than anything about this is that you have to admit, Alhassan, his biggest problem is just volume. That's it. Joe Pyfer can win this fight on volume. And to touch base on what you said earlier, yeah, minus 370 open, swole to a minus 430 favorite. So, this is a very concerning line to me because if you've seen Abdul Razak Alhassan open up, he puts it on people, and all he needs to do is just walk you down, put you up back against the cage so that he can open up with the big flurries. Or what have we been seeing a lot of wrestling coming from Alhassan, man. And not even real wrestling, but cage wrestling. Get him up against the wall, clench him up, and just wear on him, zap out a little bit of that energy. How concerning is the volume issue here? Because if Joe Pyfer can get his shots off, like I said, he can win on volume alone, but it's a matter of the more you open up, the more Alhassan has an opportunity to counter you and to knock you out. So what do you think about that?
I was a little worried for it, Derek, because every time when I was breaking fight breakdown for Alhassan, that's what he's been doing the most at least lately, and doing the best at, man, controlling the octagon, pushing you up against a cage, zapping that energy, and getting the fight to where he is most successful at it. And can he do that to Joe Pyfer? Yes, he has this monstrous way about just holding the octagon down and not submitting to your will going forward. But Joe Pyfer, if he is able to maintain that range, if he is able to work that big right hand he throws, it is a problem for Alhassan, especially if he's going to shoot one of those shots from outside, from just a little too far from where he should be. If he's a half step back, he will be eating a right hand, and Joe Pyfer has the fast hands to get it done. Are you worried about it at all yourself? I'm curious.
What I'm really worried about right here, man, is, it's that opening up of Alhassan on Joe Pyfer right there. It's the opposite. It's Abdul Razak Alhassan opening up on Joe Pyfer from just the opportunities that he's throwing out there with the volume. But the other part about it, too, is that for Joe Pyfer, man, I mean, all it takes is one clean shot from this guy, right? But you're fighting a dude who, what worries me is that Joe Pyfer is knocking out all these guys, and when you don't have that same success, when you knock out everybody else, it can be a little demoralizing. And let's not forget that for Alhassan specifically, lost against Joaquin Buckley, split decision. Munir Laziz, decision. Omari Akhmedov, split decision. These are all dudes who have tremendous knockout power, who have not come anywhere close to finishing Alhassan like that. You know what I mean? So when we really put it in those odds, man, I want to look at it as, what does a decision victory look like for Joe Pyfer? What has to take place for him to win a decision over Alhassan versus just clean starching him?
That's an interesting thought, Derek, because if Joe Pyfer wants to win this one on decision, he's going to need to be staying on his bike the whole time, cutting angles, working the jab, basically playing that very technical point style fighting, if you will, and not really his style. I mean, Joe Pyfer, a little bit, Joe Pyfer does have, like I say, the strike and he get it really done, but he's more into knocking people out and has the power to get it done. So you're right. That's where I'm curious and how his mental's going to be. The old saying goes, any boat can have a good captain in the calm, but what happens when those waters start getting a little bloody? Alhassan is over there holding you down, beating you up. Can Joe Pyfer mentally surpass that and achieve, greatness through that aspect? That's going to be there, right? That's my question right there, Derek, because this is going to be the test for him. This is a great litmus test for Joe Pyfer going into this, to how he's going to succeed going into the UFC further. This one's a lot of fun. I don't really have an answer for you, just because it could happen a multitude of different ways. but I don't see the knockout on this one. This one's going to be a fun fight. I think it might go all the way, but we'll see. What do you think?
This one makes me wonder if Joe Pyfer is going to try to open up and shoot. You know what I mean? Joaquin Buckley had a lot of success shooting against Alhassan, but that's the thing is that I felt like Buckley was a little Joaquin Buckley was a little overwhelmed by the power of Alhassan. I'm not sure if Pyfer will be, but if he does, we could see a shot happening here. I want to entertain that decision a little bit further, man. It's easy from two knockout artists to predict a knockout, but this could be Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou. You know what I mean? Not nearly the stakes or anything like that, but. So let me just ask you this. We're really high on Joe Pyfer. Clearly, we keep talking about his path to victory, but for Alhassan, it's pretty clear. Clinch, hit him with a big shot, right? This fight takes place 10 times. How many times do you think that Pyfer actually gets a win over Alhassan?
That's a good question, Derek. Right now, I'd say 6 out of 10. A little bit closer, just because I'm so worried about Alhassan actually being able to control the octagon and how that makes Joe Pyfer perform. If we can see, like I said, this is why this is a litmus test. If we can see him surpass that, then I might say a little bit more. But right now, I think it's a little closer to that 50-50 mark. What about you?
Yeah, I would say probably 6 as well. And the reason why is because, one, Alhassan has the opportunity to open up at all times right there. He's got nasty head kicks. He's more flexible than people give him credit for. He's not a one shot at a time guy all the time. When he opens up and gives you the big 3, 4, 5 shots in a row, that's when he really hurts people because they don't know where to go. You just walk in a straight line backwards and you get clipped. But here's the other thing we have to take into consideration. This is the part that nobody's really thinking about. There's over a 10-year age gap here, man. Alhassan is 38 years old, man. So speed goes, athleticism goes, but that power remains forever. It's just hard to land that power. I do not like minus 145 TKO odds for Joe Pyfer, but I will entertain that plus 450 decision. So that's what I like there. AJ, you see it any different?
No, I see it the exact same way as you, Derek. I think Joe Pyfer is going to really work to surpass him. I don't see him finishing Alhassan, though. Give me that decision at plus 450 as well.
It's going to be a fun co-main event right there. Shout out to these guys. All right. Now, Alex the Great White Morono versus Joaquin New Mansa Buckley, man. This is going to be a hell of a fun fight right here because you have a dude in Alex Morono who says, I don't count it as a victory unless I finish these guys. Decisions don't count as wins. And then you got the highlight reel athletic uber specimen that is Joaquin Buckley, who has up and down performances, right? He has performances where you think that he should win by a landslide and he squeaks him out. Yeah, fights you think he should lose and he's winning. He's kind of all over the place. Alex Morono kind of the same, right? I mean, I guess this is the thing, man. Tim Means, right? We see how this dude is just the fountain of youth. He can get the wins over the guys. So if you're not bringing your A game, and Alex Morono was able to get the win. He lost a close one before that to Santiago Ponzinibbio. We know his game is technical, big shots, not the most technical striking acumen, I guess you could say, because you see a lot of whirlwind, windmill overhands and stuff like that. But Alex Morono, I would argue, is one of the most educated fighters in the fight game right now. How do you contrast that with the style of Joaquin Buckley?
I like what you said, Derek, because especially now, Alex Morono has really got into the fold of being that educated fighter. Now, how do you contrast that against Joaquin Buckley, you ask? This dude brings the chaos, and that's what I like about him, man. He is very athletic. He's very explosive. When you have the knockout of the year back on is 2021, 2022, I forget how long we've been doing this now, but he still has that, possesses that athletic acumen in order to get those crazy chaos things done. And that's one of the things that worries me against going against Alex Morono is Morono does, at least now recently, has found himself more comfortable in being that wrestler only. And not necessarily only because, like you said, the windmill punches, they're there. They still do come out. But he's more focused now, which worries me, especially going against Buckley, where you lose focus for just a split second. And this guy's taking your head off, man. So you got to be supremely focused in there going against Buckley because he possesses that athletic ability. But at the same time, Derek, I mean, Morono has seen it all, done it all. So it's hard to say that Joaquin Buckley's going to pull something out of nowhere. Pull the old, what was it, TJ Dillon? No, not TJ Dillon. It was Cody Garbrandt. Pull it out of the pocket and hit you out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. I don't see Buckley doing that as much as I see this fight being very, very technical, being a long, drawn-out, hard scrap for both of them to get it done because they're both that talented, Derek. Do you see this fight ending in a finish?
I can definitely see this fight ending in a finish. And the reason why actually is going to contrast against your analysis of this. I don't trust Alex Morono as a fighter to fight with the full range of fight IQ that I think that he should. And what I mean by that is he's another one of those dudes who has fantastic, magnificent jiu-jitsu who just will not use it. Not in the times that you need him to use it. Like, you would craft out your perfect created fighter, it would be Alex Morono. Sick jiu-jitsu, nasty power, technical striker, not afraid to stand in the pocket, swing and bang, right? Like, that's what you want. Instead, we either get the dude who uses that ego and's like, Buckley, he's a power puncher? Okay, let's go, man. We're going to sit here, we're going to kickbox. When instead, we've seen Buckley be taken down multiple times. We know he can be controlled. I think Morono should take that approach, try to go for a submission, get the job done. Easier said than done in the grand scheme of things. Here's my biggest issue right here. On paper, right? You look at this matchup, and I do think that the odds should be flipped on paper, right? Alex Morono, I think that he should be the favorite. I think that overall, more weapons, more dangerous fighter. I think the reason we see minus 190 odds here for Joaquin Buckley, which has now swollen, or actually it has shrunk slightly, minus 170, plus 145 comeback on Morono. I think the sole reason is the athleticism of Buckley, the speed of Buckley. It is one of those things that a lot of people will say on TV, you don't see it as much, but if you talk to any of the fighters who have fought against him, they say it's so hard to see this guy where he's coming from, man, because you make one lapse of judgment, you're getting spinning kick to your chest, you getting a big shot over the top, whatever the case may be. AJ, let's talk about cardio. How does cardio going to affect these fighters? We've seen both fighters slow down in the later rounds. Round 3 hits, who's more tired?
That's exactly what I was about to say, Derek. We've seen both of them struggle in that area. I think Morono is going to be this. And to be completely transparent with you folks, I'm banking on Morono growing a lot in the last couple fights he's had. We've seen it literally from the Jedi fight to this Ponzinibbio to the Tim Means fight. He's been progressing more and more into that more calculated style of fighter Derek was talking about. Hasn't fully gotten there yet, but I'm hoping this is going to be the fight that he shows that exact skill going forward. I think Morono's going to have it. We'll see though, because you're right, Derek. Both of them have had instances where they struggled a little bit. I'm banking on the athleticism of Buckley to sap that energy just a little bit more. Who do you have being the fresher fighter going into the third?
It is really tough because it all depends on what's the fight style that these guys are bringing, man. Is Buckley trying to throw a bunch of spinning kicks like he does? You know, is Morono trying to shoot a little bit? If he shoots, how does that affect Buckley's cardio? So it's really tough to tell, but if there's one thing that I can bank on is that there is a high likelihood that both men will be tired entering round 3. You know what I mean? It's just as simple as that. AJ, this is going to be one of those fights where I'm going to stay away from any prop predictions because I feel this is an incredibly high-level contested fight, but I will say I am leaning on the side of Joaquin Buckley, the athleticism, the superior speed, man. I think he's just going to be faster than Morono, and I think that's going to win the dance for him. So give me Joaquin Buckley at now, minus 170 odds. How you see it, AJ?
I'm going kind of contrasting Derek. Well, nonetheless contrasting in the pick, but I think this is the prop lock, and the reason I chose that for Alex Morono as a plus 255 decision is because he's going to be growing into that fighter. We've seen him on the trajectory to keep going. I think he's going to advance his style. He's more locked in. He's more dedicated. He's more focused. Hopefully he doesn't lose that focus because Buckley is a hell of a competitor, excuse me. So I do see this fight being hard, and that's why I'm going for that decision win. Let's hope Morono, is a little fresher in that third.
That's right. All right. This is going to be a big fight right there. Can you believe it, man? 2020 was that Impa Kasanganay knockout of the year. Just to recap before we move on, this one, it kind of blew my mind. If you look at the numbers, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's 5-3 since that stunning knockout. And let's not forget that he got that crazy knockout after getting knocked out by Kevin Holland. So Joaquin Buckley, the story of new monsters. It's beautiful to see. All right. AJ, Drew Dober. Man, my man says, you know what? I'm going to get in a banger against Bobby Green, the main eventer of this card. I'm going to win that come-behind fight Matt Frevola, get starched by Matt Frevola, and then somehow Ricky Glenn enters the chat, and here we are. And I don't really understand the rhyme or reason because, AJ, I will never disparage these fighters because I respect all of what you guys do. It takes real killers, real warriors to get in there. But once again, I've said this now for this is the third fight in a row now where I'm I thought Ricky Glenn retired. I thought he was done. You know what I mean? So we got that fight against Grant Dawson. I thought he retired after that one. That was that draw fight, right? Where he had come back from behind, got that draw on Grant Dawson. Christos Giagos, he got chinned. He got chinned in that one, man. And that just doesn't make me feel good when you're fighting a Drew Dober whose number one goal is to do the same exact thing that Christos Giagos did, who probably has a very similar skill set. If you look at Christos Giagos, Drew Dober, kind of the same skill set, except Giagos has better wrestling. You know what I mean? So what are we banking on here, AJ? How does Ricky Guillen win this fight?
Ooh, Derick, maintaining the range and keeping the speed up, man. Have Drew Dober as far away for where you can do damage and he can't. And you know, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Ricky Guillen has a 3-inch, 4-inch reach advantage. He's going to be the taller guy. Oh, no, excuse me, not reach advantage, height advantage. 5'8" to 6 foot. Ricky Guillen will be the bigger fighter going in there. And if he's able to maintain that range, cut the corners, and actually rotate instead of let Drew Dober get to the hips, he's going to find success. We've seen a lot of fighters be able to stuff the takedowns or at least avoid the takedowns of Drew Dober and find success. Even in that King Green fight you were mentioning, Derick, Bobby Green was doing work. He was doing work. You just cannot let Drew Dober get a second of momentum, because once he does, he's a downhill dog, or I guess the snowball's a better effect, because this guy just keeps on rolling and going. He is hungry in there, and that's what worries me for Ricky Guillen, because you're right, Derick. I thought he retired too. I'm pretty sure it was on the MMA roster list, you know, but we'll see, because he always, even if he's out, he's never really out of the fight, Derick. Ricky Guillen is an absolute warrior, is a savage. He has the power to get it done. We'll see if he still has the speed and the accuracy to actually touch that chin of Drew Dober. But to that point, Derick, Drew Dober, I mean, when's the last time he was knocked out? It was the last fight against Frivola. Yeah, my bad. But do you think Ricky Guillen has that same kind of pop that Frivola has? I think he used to, but what about now? Do you see the knockout happening?
Well, here's the sad part, man. You can't forget, Ricky Guillen's 34 years old, bro. He's not an old man by, like, any stretch of the imagination. It's just, like, he's fought guys where you're like, yo, like, you fought OGs, man. Like, if you take a trip down memory lane, this dude fought Evan Dunham. Like, bro, this was back in 2016, too, so it wasn't that long ago, but it's like, man, all right, we got some names right there. All right, okay. Here's the point, man. Do I think that Ricky Guillen can chin Drew Dober? Yes, he's coming off of a knockout. Both guys are coming off of a knockout, so I guess it makes sense why this fight is matched up here. I just think that sitting in the pocket against Drew Dober is not the right game plan at this stage of his career for both fighters, because Drew Dober is that indomitable force who pretty much, man, has the crimson chin aside from a couple of lapses of judgment. I don't know, man. I don't have much to say on this fight. I don't want to disrespect Ricky Guillen whatsoever, but I think Drew Dober is a clear favorite for a reason. The opening line stuck, man. -440, +340 comeback for Ricky Guillen. I like Drew Dober here. I would imagine it's going to be a knockout, but how much are you buying into that -175 TKO prop for Drew Dober?
I just looked at it right now, Derick, and folks, if you've been watching the last couple weeks, you see my prop locks have been the minus money. So I'm a little hesitant. On that TKO finish, but I'm still taking it for this one because I think Drew Dober is going to be able to get to the hips, get this fight to the ground, and then actually finish this fight via TKO or knockout. That's the way I think it's most likely going to happen. But fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. I guess might do a little bit more research on Ricky Guillen. We'll see. What about you, Derick? You see some juice in that 170 or -175?
I mean, it's a knockout. You know what I mean? That's a highly likely way this fight ends. I just think unless Ricky Guillen does something miraculous, I don't know how long this fight's going to be dragging out, especially if Drew Dober's walking him down. I don't know, man. I don't like the bet. I wouldn't take the bet, but I do see it as the most likely outcome. This is a stay away for me too, man. And this is one thing that I want to advise for those who are watching. It's easy to say you guys should have a pick for every single fight and every single matchup, but anybody who's a true handicapper, anybody who actually is profitable, who makes money, you don't bet on every fight. Not every fight makes sense to bet on. This is one of those where it's almost too much of a layup, 2 southpaws against each other. I want to know who's going to be landing the big body shots, who's going to be winning that outside foot battle. I think it's going to be Drew Dober. I like Drew Dober, -440. And I'm just going to cash it in right there. What do you say?
I'm right there with you. This is a stay away for me as well. Like I said, I don't know if I'm banking on any more minus prop bets until they actually start being fruitful. I like Drew Dober all the way.
Right on. Okay. And then to open us up, this is a fight right here where I can definitely see some juice on this one, man. So Alexander Hernandez back to featherweight, coming off of a big lightweight victory against none other than Jim A10 Miller. And Jim Miller was on a little bit of a run, man, and he shut that thing down. I remember I bet on Jim Miller. I lost that fight right there because Alexander Hernandez showed that, listen, at the end of the day, he is a real competitor, supreme competitor, Factory X Muay Thai fighter, and under the tutelage of Mark Montoya, this dude's good, man. And he might not have the same hype as he did coming off of the Cerrone win and all of that good stuff, but this dude is good. And at featherweight, he might have found his new home. But they matched him up against a guy in Bill Algeo, who I just think, man, is the guy who, even though he's favorited in this fight, does not nearly get the respect that he deserves as how skillful of a fighter that he is. So before we go into more Bill Algeo talk, I do want to know, what did you take away from that big win against Jim Miller for Alexander Hernandez? What lessons did you learn?
Man, I learned that this guy is a little bit better, a little heavier. You know, when he's comfortable, when he's focused, he has the strength and he has the skill. And I think at that weight, man, when he is hydrated, his brain's working at a new level, he's able to process things better. He looks spectacular in that Jim Miller fight, man. But then you go back against the Billy Q loss, and it looks like a night and day thing, man. And that's what gives me pause for betting on Alexander Hernandez right here, just because he's that typical fighter who it depends on how he's going to perform that night. He might be a killer in the gym. He might be a killer on days when he's feeling good. But again, how does he feel going into it when he's a little down, man? When you're not feeling your best, you got to go in there and get a scrap against Bill Algeo. This is a hard fight, Derek. It doesn't really give me too much confidence going into it. But at the same time, if Alexander Hernandez does go into it feeling good, is mentally strong, is able to focus in there, we could see a stunning fight right here. And that's probably the reason why this is opening up the main event.
Yeah, I could see this being very, very back and forth, but I do want to say that in a weird twist of fate, Alexander Hernandez has crept back on the odds, man. So this opened up as minus 150 for Bill Algeo. Now minus 125 for Bill Algeo, plus 105 comeback for Alexander Hernandez. This is getting closer and closer to plus money, which then, AJ, I hate to say it, but that makes me double down even more. Let's go. I like Bill Algeo in this fight, and there's a very simple reason, man. If there is a fighter who is to be broken in front of Bill Algeo is the guy to break him. It's as simple as that, man. And I just think that 145, with all of the things you just mentioned about the performance of the great ape Alexander Hernandez in this new weight class, Bill Algeo is a guy who will take you through the ringer all day long, man. And it's actually funny because what I'm actually looking at, I don't know if this is true for Real Open, but from on one of my note pages that I have, they actually have Alexander Hernandez. Let me see. Oh, no, I had him switched. Just kidding. We're all good. King of Pressure, Bill Algeo. He maintained the favorite. We're all good, so we can disregard that. But yeah, if there's a man to be broken, I think Bill Algeo does it. Do you agree with that sentiment in terms of a washing machine of a fight? Up, down, on the ground, standing, elbows, blood. You like Bill Algeo in those types of fights, right?
I love Bill Algeo on those types of fights, Derek. That's why I'm excited for this one, because no matter when Algeo steps into the cage, he's going to bring that chaos. He's going to bring the whirlwind style. You don't know what's going to hit you. And if there's ever an opponent to match that, mirror that, and maybe even succeed, Anthony Hernandez has the potential to get it done. That's what makes this fight fun for me, Derek. I'm going to sit back and just enjoying this one. Yeah, I'm betting on it, but I'm still just going to be like the fan on a Saturday afternoon watching this fight, as happy as he can be, because Bill Algeo is a fun fighter, especially once the things start getting a little dirty, a little bloody. It's going to be a lot of fun, Derek.
And that's what's funny, too, is when I'm looking at it, man, you just got to enjoy the height advantage of Bill Algeo. He's long, he's lanky, and coming off of that win against TJ Brown, I think shows you everything that you need, because look at TJ Brown, like in the featherweight division, one of the biggest dogs time in and time out. And that was back and forth, but Bill Algeo ended up just taking over that fight, choking him out, second round rear naked choke. If you look at a couple of the other victories on his record, you don't see a lot of finishes here, AJ, which gives me like a slight hesitation for pause, because at the end of the day, can he win this fight decision plus 215? Yeah. But I didn't say decision. I said he's going to break the fighter across the cage from him. And if you're going to truly break them, I mean, that means you get him out of there, right? So if you're looking at, first off, a win against Joe Anderson Brito, let's not forget about that. It's like he gets no credit for that one, right? Then after that one, Herbert Burns, that was just the weird fight. We're not even going to count that. You lose to Andre Feely in a close fight, and then you beat TJ Brown, all of the makings of fighting a guy with the caliber that Alexander Hernandez brings. But before we go too crazy on just praising max bet 5 units Bill Algeo, Alexander Hernandez can win this fight, AJ, and we have to take that into account. This is a guy who I think when you count him out the most is when he performs the best, and we're entering that territory right here. So just give me any reservation, any pause you have for Alexander Hernandez actually winning the fight.
And I'm right there with you, Derek, because you're right. Alexander Hernandez has the potential and has the ability to get this done. If this dude is controlling the ring, cutting corner, cutting angles, walking you down and making this his style of fight, getting on the inside, using the leverage he has, bro, Alexander Hernandez can can win this fight. Has the style to get it done. And what I like about him too, he has popping his shots that you would not expect. Like he's throwing jabs that hurt you. The right hands, it doesn't look like he's putting too much behind it, but they still sting. And the same thing with his body kicks and leg kicks, man. This guy can get it done. And as well as he can work on the ground as well. Alexander has nothing to scoff at, and like you said, we were kind of getting in that territory for Bill Algeo. It's just because I'm a fan of the way Bill Algeo fights, but Alexander Hernandez, if you're a fan of somebody who is a dog, who is gritty, who has that kind of ethos around him, he never, it's very rare he quits on himself. It's usually more he's just getting outworked. I don't know if I've ever seen Hernandez quit, but he has been outworked, and I think that's what's going to happen in this fight right here.
That's right. So we like Bill Senor Perfecto Algeo in this featherweight contest. Minus, what was it again? Minus 125 current odds. Cash it in, folks. I'm not going to advise for anything too crazy, but I will say you got a couple units to drop. You should definitely drop them on Bill Algeo right there. All right, AJ, with that being said, that's the main card breakdown. It feels good to be back. UFC Vegas 80, baby. What are we talking about? All right, folks, if you are still along with us and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button because we're heading into your favorite segment. This is the coveted section of the Bloody Water Podcast. This is when we're talking about the unknowns of today, but the stars of tomorrow. This is when we're talking about all of the guys that you're hyped on. Grant Dawson, people still don't really know who he is, but this dude was super unknown not that long ago. You know what I'm saying? So lots of fun stuff in store. And AJ, let's get into it.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, we got some sleepers. We got some bar pitches right here. Imagine the scenario, folks. Take a walk down memory lane with me, or just this vivid thought experiment. You're at the bar with your buddies. The most beautiful woman you've ever seen in your life is right across the bar. Your buddy's getting up, ready to go spit some game. And you're like, brother, there's fights. Women are temporary. Wins forever, fights forever. That is what we're talking about. Shout out Habib, right? You got to convince him. 60 seconds. This is a banger. You need to watch it. AJ, you are on deck first, my friend. Who are you bringing to the sleeper section this week?
You're right, Derek. This one, the 60-second bar pitch, I don't even know if I need that long because, folks, if you're familiar with fighting, you know both of these guys. Johnny Munoz Jr. versus Arichi Lang. Why I like this fight? Because 8 out of 10 times, this fight's ending in a finish, man. These boys bring it. They're crazy fast, crazy strong, have all the abilities to get it done. And what I not necessarily like most about the fighters, but why I like this as a sleeper fight is because they both have roller coasters of careers. You can see Derek just highlighted the ups and downs that they're both going with. And that's what makes this interesting because we're going to see a mix-em up of all the styles of fight that can happen. And this one's going to be a banger. I'm thinking knockout. You can see a lot of people right there predicting the decision for Johnny Munoz Jr. I like him a little bit more in this fight, but I think the KOs are going to be what's opening up. And with the Arichi Lang liking to open up on the big punches, on those strikes, Johnny Munoz, a very technical striker, can get it done in the KOs. I'm excited for this fight, Derek. What about you? What do you think, and who's your sleeper?
Well, I think that people need to remember Johnny Munoz at his core, he is a decorated jiu-jitsu fighter, right? So you got to definitely watch out playing too much stand up with Arichi Lang because that is a recipe for getting knocked out. So I think this is a very good contrast of styles, grappler versus striker right here. And Arichi Lang, I think he will be able to showcase a little bit of good takedown defense right there. Going to be a fun scrap. But folks, for my 60-second bar pitch, I am going to be rolling with, and forgive some name mispronunciations and all that, Nate Maness versus Mateus Mendonça. If you know about this dude here on the right, I'm just going to call him Mateus. He is pretty popular because he had a very good display to a degree against none other than Javid Basharat. He lost the fight, but if you go to a decision against a Bash bro, you're probably doing something right. Nate Maness, on the other hand, 2 losses back-to-back. Umar Nurmagomedov, Tagir Ulanbekov. Folks, I want to give you just a heads up. This is the guy who says, oh yeah, the guys that nobody wants to fight, line them up. Let's rock. And listen, Mayhem, Maness, he's gotten beat up pretty bad in a couple of these fights. But the point is, he doesn't care who you are. He doesn't care where you are. He's ready to scrap. This is going to be a really fun striking contest right here. You're going to see some grappling. You're going to see a little bit of a mixing up. But this is an opportunity to scale back your level of competition against the top-notch dudes, against another guy who's coming off of a loss. 2 losses in a row for Nate Maness. You don't see it very often. I think he will avenge himself. And if you look at this, the odds are ever against my man, which is where he shines the most. Mendonça, 57% of Tapology voters think that he is going to knock out Nate Maness. Could happen, could not happen. If you look at his last couple of wins, got some decisions, got some knockouts, got some submissions, right? You see a little bit of different. Look at the win. Tony Gravely, Nate Maness. Let's not forget about that fight. The point is 125 pounds. I want blood, violence, action, gore, and everything in between. And that is your sleeper section. Folks, come on, man. You got to love it. All right, AJ. Now that the sleepers are over, we still got a couple of fights that we should definitely talk to the people about. There's some things, or some fights, some matchups here that I'm very excited about, and I would love to know what you feel about them as well. Now, let's talk about it. First off, opening up the card here, AJ, Montana De La Rosa versus JJ Aldrich. This is a fight that I want your betting perspective on here, AJ. Now, if you're looking at Montana De La Rosa, she opens up as she's currently a minus 140 favorite with a plus 120 comeback for JJ Aldrich. One thing that we know about JJ Aldrich is that she spent a lot of her time in her mixed martial arts career at a lighter weight class, right? I believe 115 pounds for JJ Aldrich. Montana De La Rosa, she's long, 125 pounds. But in the grand scheme of things, what we need to think about here is in terms of grappling. This is probably going to be a largely grappling dedicated fight. Who do you like more? Both of them are masters of their craft, more or less.
Yeah, masters of the craft. You're correct, Derek. Instantly when I saw this fight, I thought Montana De La Rosa had the edge. But JJ Aldrich has a way of being kind of sneaky in there and getting herself in positions that work the best because she's a master of her craft going into there. I want to take JJ Aldrich right now, but I think I'm going to stick with my gut reaction. I'm going Montana De La Rosa on this one. Who do you think has the edge and pulled this one out, Derek?
Yeah, I think Montana De La Rosa. I love me some JJ Aldrich. I think she's a fighter who, when you counter out, she wins. And, you know, when you're really leaning on her, sometimes she doesn't get it done. But I think Montana De La Rosa will have the edge in this fight. And I'm actually going to roll with this from a betting perspective. I will roll with Montana De La Rosa. Money line, or you could play the safe bet and you could take the over 2.5 rounds on this fight. It is your choice, folks. Next up, AJ, another interesting women's showcase bout. Kanako Murata versus Vanessa Demopoulos, man. This is going to be a hell of a fight. One, if you know anything about Kanako Murata, it's because I put her as my sleeper multiple occasions. I'm a big fan of her. I think that she's really good because I love the judokas, man. You come into the UFC, you're a primetime judoka, your striking is very suspect, but when it comes to a nasty hip toss, you are there and you're ready to go. Problem is, listen, man, she's going to be fighting Vanessa Demopoulos, who has been overachieving a little bit, in my opinion. And I think that this is going to be an interesting fight because while I normally would probably be hammering the Murata money line, if you're looking at it, I mean, she's a minus 345 favorite, and I wouldn't hammer that with that plus 270 comeback for Demopoulos. I think this is a winnable fight for Demopoulos standing. AJ, what do you think?
That's exactly what I was about to say, Derek. I think Vanessa Demopoulos, if she can control this fight, keep it on the feet, it looks very good for her. This is another one of those litmus tests for Kanako, just because if she's able to control this fight and get things to where she needs to be, get it to the ground, like you said, hip toss, and then control, man, we're going to see good things coming out of that corner. But Demopoulos has it again. She has that striking if she's able to get it there. I actually like Kanako in this fight. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm betting on it just because of things that can change in the outcome of the fight, but it is going to be a fun one to watch nonetheless.
Let's not forget that Kanako Murata was matched up against Vina Jandiroba and popped her shoulder and lost the fight, right? So, you know, it was indefinite. We don't know how that fight would have played out, but if you're matched up against Vina Jandiroba, you're clearly good. You know, it's clear as day. All right, AJ, another women's matchup, man. What do we got going on these prelims? Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Diana Belbita. So Diana Belbita is coming off of, I do believe, a victory here. Let me just double check. Yes, she is coming off of that big win against Maria Oliveira. Made me sad. Shout out to Maria Oliveira. But Karolina Kowalkiewicz is resurged, man. She has shown new life in her career. She's on a 3-fight win streak against none other than Vanessa Demopoulos, Silvana Gomez-Juarez, and Felice Herrig. Now, some people will say that Silvana Gomez-Juarez won the fight against Kowalkiewicz. That is a little bit of controversial take. But the point is Kowalkiewicz looks really good. Diana Belbita, very up and down. It's always loss, win, couple losses, couple wins. But the point is this a winnable fight for Diana Belbita, or do we think Kowalkiewicz racks up her 4th win in a row?
No, this is a winnable fight for Belbita, Derek, especially because of the way she's been fighting lately. She, like you said, up and down a little bit, but she's able to be more comfortable than she used to be in the fight. When I saw this fight, I was leaning heavy on Belbita just because of the previous run that Kovalevich had. But you're right, man. She has really grown into her own, and it might be that age you're highlighting right now, 37 years young against the what's that, decadent, whatever, not decadent, that's not a word, decade younger of a fighter in Diana Babitsa. And I love Diana Babitsa as a fighter because she looks smooth in there. At times, she has her moments where she looks real smooth and real slick, but I think Kovalevich has hit the stride in her career where she's probably going to pull this one out. I like Kovalevich. Who do you like, Derek?
Yeah, I'm going to lean on Kovalevich on this one. She's just, once again, outperforming, man. It's a fight where you think she's done, and she's not, man. And she's showing with all of that experience she's racked up against all the highest level fighters. These level of fighters these days, you might just argue, not quite up to par. All right, AJ, last one before we get up out of here. This is one, AJ, where from a gambling perspective, I want your opinion on it because I have my own opinions here, and I'm ready to dish them out. Felipe Lins versus Ion Cutelaba. This was actually removed from the main card, so I was breaking this down, and I had some very firm thoughts on this one. Don't know ideally who you were rolling with here, AJ, but this is one that I put myself on a 3-unit wager on Felipe Lins to get the fight done, baby. Let's go. I love me some Ion Cutelaba, man. I love the story, the Hulk, the paint, all that good stuff. I love the more composed nature that he's taken these days. Felipe Lins is a dude that I wrote off, man. But I just think that, once again, when you have a breakable object in front of you, Felipe Lins is a guy with checking all the boxes. Jiu-jitsu black belt. Good takedown defense. Nasty strength. Nasty pop in his shot. Good striking. What more can you ask for? What do you think, AJ?
I'm right there with you, Derek. I wish I could take the side of Ion Cutelaba on this one. But with the way we've seen him perform, when the water gets a little rough, when it gets a little bloody in there, he is breakable. We've seen him be in the fights where he just doesn't look like he's up to par, doesn't look like he's up to snuff. And Felipe Lins never quits on himself, never says die, and has all the intangibles to get it done. The only thing that worries me a little bit right here is the speed and the blitz power that Ion Cutelaba is going to bring. If he's able just to chin up Felipe Lins within the first couple of minutes, that's where I think he's going to be most successful. Personally, though, I like Felipe Lins actually getting a knockout second or third round going into this one. I don't have the odds pulled up on it, but Derek, what are they?
I like it because Felipe Lins currently is a plus 120 dog right there, man. So you want a live dog on the card? Felipe Lins, that's what appears to be a Bloody Water Podcast consensus prop lock right there. Maybe not prop lock, but just dog lock. There you go. All right, folks. We made it to the outro. UFC Vegas 80. We are back, baby. We got some good fights ahead of us too, man. Really quickly, AJ, let me just preview this. Let me just take a quick look. Give the people a little something. Get us out of here while I'm looking this up, AJ.
Folks, while Derek pulls that up, man, I'm here to tell you, yeah, I'm back in a new chair, but I'm still here with the same old stuff, making the demands, making it grow. We wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for you fine folks tuning in and week out. And we got something on the pipeline just for you, but you need to go make sure you're subscribed right down here, but as well as check out that link down below. We're putting the quick hit series out over on my YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. But again, folks, if you're winning money, and I know you are because you're over here watching the show and you're part of this segment right now, make sure you go tell a friend. Derek set it up when we were talking about the sleeper section. You're seeing a cute girl, a fine lady over there in the corner looking at the bar. You're ready to go spit some game. Your homie stops you. Nothing better than watching that fight. The only thing better that is whenever you're the one winning some money and everybody's looking at you to come get some picks, come get some odds, come get your insight. I know where you're getting it. It's over here at the Bloody Water Podcast, but you don't need to tell him that. All you need to tell him is go over and check out my boys at the Bloody Water Podcast. Jump on the army and let's get rolling in some dough.
That's
Enough
right.
time for you, Derek.
That's it. Well, I got it. You want to look cool, folks. We got you. We don't even need the credit like that. You feel me? Just know deep down in your heart, BWP Army, that's where you're getting the picks from. All right, AJ, T-minus 2 weeks until we see the rematch of the century right here. Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. Now, we have to be real here, man. This is crazy that people are so hyped about it, given that Makhachev finished Dober so definitively. A lot of people are really counting him out. But the point is, 2 weeks until we have a stunning pay-per-view on our hands. A couple other good fights that you're going to want to keep an eye on. Paulo Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev. AJ inching closer. A lot of people think Chimaev is going to be the next middleweight champ. We will see. Another big one, Johnny Walker, Magomed Ankalaev. We just got a lot of good stuff, man. Tim Elliott, Muhammad Mokaev. This is probably going to be one of the better cards of the year, correct?
Oh, this is going to be a blast, folks. Not even just the main event, but the cards or the fights Derick was talking about on the card. We're getting a little spoiled up there. Uncle Dana might have something up his sleeve for the later fights down the road. But this one's going to be an absolute blast for this card, man.
That's right, folks. So we got a lot to tune into. Just because we're this deep into the year does not mean that there's not a lot left here on the table, and we're leaving it all on the table. So, folks, with that being said, that is it for us. Catch us on Monday for the post show, UFC Vegas 80 post show. We'll be breaking down all the action live, all that good stuff. All right, until next time, folks. Peace.